Hey everyone, it's Justine, and I'm super excited to bring you this video featuring the Color Drop stamp from My Favorite Things. When I saw this stamp, I knew I had to have it. This video isn't sponsored by anyone, and I was not asked to feature this stamp in any way. This is something that I just bought myself, and I'm super excited to show off. This video is also very similar to my 5 cards 1 stamp videos, in which I'm going to use the same stamp to create all 5 backgrounds. I do, however, add some different sentiments at the end using die cuts and stamps, so it's not a true 5 cards 1 stamp video. So sit back, relax, and I'm going to take you through 5 different backgrounds that I created with this stamp, and I'll embellish them all at the end. Now, because these are solid stamps, they tend to not stamp perfectly the first time you use them. The reason is there could be still residue from the manufacturer, and because in general, solid stamps are kind of a disaster, which is why I've always avoided them. However, if you own a MISTI stamping tool, you can stamp it over and over again in the same spot until you get a perfect impression. Or if you own Catherine Pooler inks, these are a foam pad ink, and they're fantastic for solid stamps. They stamp perfectly every time. That was the first time I had stamped this stamp, and those of you who've stamped with solid images before, you know how difficult it is to get a good impression the first time, without prepping or seasoning it. With these inks, and with the combination of my MISTI, I'm good to go with just stamping once. Now, as you can see, I'm just placing the stamps side by side and overlapping with colors that won't muddy and make a brown color. I really love the way that these turn out. So that is background number 1. Very simple and quick and easy. Background number 2, I'm starting off with a stamp at the top, and I'm kind of following the color wheel here. So recently I took a Copic coloring class which involved practicing with the color wheel, so I followed that model here and I used those colors to line up my stamps here in order to create a nice little sort of flower color wheel look. Now I am lining up the stamp one beside the other. I'm not overlapping in any way because for me I found it a little bit confusing to overlap because of spacing issues. So I would suggest just putting these side by side. Now I do tend to go on and on about these inks because they're really great, but I have to say the fact that I only have to do a quick wipe in between colors and the residue doesn't come off from color to color is amazing when you're stamping a rainbow of colors. So much worry-free stamping here. Now for this one here, I'm taking various colors of the inks and various sizes of the drops and dots that come on the set, and I'm creating a random pattern throughout it. When I first started stamping it, it was kind of chaos, and I really didn't actually think that this was going to turn out, but it turned out really cute in the end, and I really enjoyed the way that this card turned out in total. I ended up flipping it around so that it was a vertical card instead of the horizontal as I'm showing right now, and it ended up being super cute. So you can just random stamp these drops and these circles to make a really fun background, and you could do the whole cardstock if you like, rather than just ending there like I did. Now for this one here, I'm taking the largest of the drops and I am inking it up in the Tiki Torch ink, and I am going to be stamping with a smaller size here on the side with Tiara ink. I wanted to take 2 shades that were the same, and I wanted to start with the dark and work my way to the light. And this ink here I think needs some re-inking, so it's a good thing I have the re-inkers. However, it stamped just fine. I kind of actually like the fact that it's faded off a little bit. It almost looks like it was blended with a stress or distressing tool or a sponge. And then I didn't like the way it was kind of going in the front, so I decided to go over this one just one more time and just kind of get rid of some of those harsh lines. That was the end of that one, and I think it looks really cool. It kind of reminds me of Three Flames, actually. Now for this last background here, I am going to be randomly stamping using my block, and I am going to be stamping in all sorts of shades of blue. I decided to take all of the small dots that were on this set and arrange them in a collage on my block. I adjusted them and readjusted them so that they would have a variety of sizes and be laying next to different sizes. And once I was finished there, I took all the shades of blue and teal from my Catherine Pooler inks here, and I just stamped them randomly all over the page. I tried to make it so that there was a different color beside each one and that there was a nice contrast between all the different colors. Now don't worry about getting things perfect here, because what you can end up doing at the end is do what I do, and I went in with one of those little circles, and I went in and added and filled in the white gaps using the various shades, and I made sure those little white dots were next to the same color. I think it looked really cool and really cute. Then what I did was I did some planning and I laid out my dies over top of each of the cards, so I knew what I wanted to die cut. That way there, I was able to save a ton of time. For example, I knew which dies I was going to cut in black and which ones I was going to cut out directly from the cardstock. So instead of running through my Big Shot 4 different times, I was able to run through this piece of black cardstock just once with 4 different dies. I will have links to all of these dies and all of the supplies I use in this video down below in the YouTube description, as well as on my blog with photo links so that you can see if you don't know the names of them. And all of these dies here are dies, various dies from my favorite things. Some are a bit older, some are new, and I really enjoy using them over and over again in card videos, and you may have seen some of these before. In the last 2 cards, I simply just ran through the whole background, and then I saved all the pieces over on the side. I also managed to get a 6th card out of this set by doing this. So, and then for the last die cut, I used a white scrap piece of paper, and I decided to cut a rectangle in that because I wanted to break up one of the backgrounds that seemed a little bit too busy for my style. So I'm grabbing some card bases here, and I'm going through each of the card details kind of in a fast motion here. So I peeled out the thanks and I used my Tombow monoliquid adhesive, and then I added some glue on the inside of this so that I can make a 1-layer card using the various pieces that I cut out from the thanks. And that way I was able to also create a card using the leftover thanks pieces that I cut out from the background. So I got 2 cards out of this. So that was card number 1. And then I went on to the Hugs card, and again I added Tombow monoliquid adhesive all over the card. And then I picked out the Hugs dies, and I added some 3D foam tape to each of the letters, and I had to cut it from my foam roll here. And that's what I love most about the 3M foam roll, is the fact that it's so easy to cut the various pieces off and just adjust it the way you like. I haven't found that with any other foam adhesive yet, except for the one from Close to My Heart is pretty good as well. But it's a lot smaller, and then it gets a little bit more pricey. So now I have the Hugs very discreetly in the background there with some dimension. Then I took that white rectangle that I die cut there, and I'm sorry I'm slightly off screen here. I grabbed my MISTI and the Grateful stamp, and I stamped that using some VersaFine ink, and I stamped that twice to get a nice black impression, and then I added another sentiment on the bottom there, and you'll see that completely on the card when I put everything together. So it says, "Grateful, your support means everything to me." I used that background, added some 3D foam tape here, took off the 3D foam tape, and added that to the front. To me, this card was very busy, so I liked breaking that up with a nice white background. Then for the last card, or another card here, sorry, not the last, I grabbed the thank you, and this is a really intricate one, so I used some multi-matte medium, as well as this tip here. This is a nice tip I got from Jennifer McGuire about, and then only a little bit of ink or the glue comes out, so it's really great for intricate dies, and I save it generally for intricate dies as well. And I added some Tombow monoliquid adhesive, you can see my first attempt on the background there, and then added that to the front of my card. As you can see, I always tend to work on white because I like the fact that if I screw up the card front, I didn't just ruin a whole card base. So once again, a very intricate die. I'm using my matte medium with a special tip here, and I am gluing down the Hello Beautiful, and I really like the way that that turned out. And then I just added that to the front of my card base as well. I just love how colorful and vibrant all of these cards are, and just how positive they are as well. They'd make a really great set to give to a friend, or really just great to send out individually. Now for the next card, I folded up my card base here, and then I went ahead and put the thanks die down here so I could get the spacing correct. Now these were those leftover letters I was talking about, so I was able to make a 6th card. I used the die to help me with my spacing, as well as achieve a straight look. And now I have this really cute thanks that I cut out with all of those really pretty colors on it. And I'm going to add a stamp underneath just to add a little something extra to the card. So it's a really clean and simple one. For this thank you as well, I'm going to go ahead and that same coordinating stamp set, I'm going to grab sentiment and stamp that there onto the bottom of this card. I'm just adding some of those final details right now and to those cards who I think look a little bit too plain. I'm also adding one here to the bottom of that thanks and also to the bottom of the hugs. But for the hugs, I dragged out my MISTI stamping tool, and the reason being is because I had that 3D look on it already, as well as the fact that I had put so much work into adding those foams and those 3D work that I didn't want to screw up now, so I needed to make sure that I could stamp that properly with the MISTI and not risk it with a block. So here's a final look at all of the cards that I created, all 6 of them using that same background stamp. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm hoping to make a lot of videos that are similar to this in the future that show multiple cards in one video. I think everybody's been really enjoying them from the feedback that I've been given. If you're interested at all in any of the supplies used in this video, you can check out the video description below, or on my blog there are photo links to the stores. And here you can subscribe to my channel as well, check out my blog, or check out 2 other bulk card videos. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful week.